It was like waking from a dream. And my first feeling was of being so happy to be out of this body. In that moment, like I'm talking instantly, I was remembering. And I was remembering being like everything and everyone. And on the other side, you feel part of everything and everyone. And then you get separated into this body and you immediately feel separate and alone. It's a scary feeling. It's more scary being here than being there.
Right. All right, Drew Brophy. Well, it is an honor to have you on the show. And I think we're talking a little bit before about how we first met. And I have to take the L on that one. We were, for all you surfers out there, and mind you, at that time, I had been surfing for, I mean, 20 years. I had been surfing since I was like 11 years old. So I should have known. But we're paddling out at lowers, and he's coming down the line. And you're supposed to take one for the team and go towards the whitewater, but I didn't. I tried to go for the shoulder, and yeah, we collided. And that was the first and last time that's ever happened. And so it's pretty interesting that we're sitting here talking now. But Drew
Yep.
Brophy is an incredible artist. When I ran into you that day at Lowers, and I was riding Casey Curtis's board, who was a pro surfer from Laguna Niguel, lived in San Clemente for a long time. Rode for Lost, and Drew did a lot of art for Lost surfboards. When
Yeah.
he's like, Drew Brophy, tell him Drew Brophy hit his board. Tell Casey Curtis Drew Brophy, and then as soon as you said your name, I was like, oh dude. I was like, I know you are who you are. So he had so much fame in the surf world from his art and from his surfing. So I just want to thank you for being here. And so thank you.
Yeah, man. It's good to be here. And those types of things happen every day at Lower, so don't feel special. Um, I was just out the other day and broke my board, and I was dodging through all the kids. It's all kids now, so there's 50 of them. So uh, your chances of getting hit are much higher now. So it's like a slalom course. So we're all getting better at it. Back then we weren't that good at it. So
Dude,
collisions happened.
it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, I was surfing um, Seaside Reef, and it's the same thing there. It's like just Grom Central. So definitely a lot of dodging. But so this here, our podcast YouTube channel, we focus on spirituality and surfing. And I was really intrigued by your story. If you could tell us about your experience that you had, anything, before and going into it, and yeah, if you could tell us a little bit about your NDE, if you would.
Yeah. So it's pretty wild and something I really never thought about prior to it happening to me. And a pretty unique experience. Number one, not many people have had the experience of being told they were going to die, and which that happened to me. My wife and family and I experienced everybody's worst nightmare during COVID, where I got sick and uh, ended up in the hospital. And it's a long story, but some things were done well and some things weren't done well, and the end result was that I was going to die. And the doctors said that this is what's going to happen. And what had happened is my lungs tore. So for a lot of people out there, they don't realize that I'd beaten COVID and I was recovering, and my lungs tore is what
Mm.
actually happened. And once that happened, since I'd had COVID pneumonia, my lungs stuck together. The doctor said it was like wet paper. So once they tore, they started sticking together and collapsing.
Mm.
And the doctor says, look, they're collapsing. We can't stop it. And you're going to have a heart attack or a stroke, and it's going to be awful. You don't want to die this way.
Mm,
So, number one, I don't know too many people that have ever been in that position,
mm,
and it's surreal. You don't realize, the way things happen. And I've been in enough experiences and accidents and boating accidents and moments where, when things go wrong, they go wrong very quickly, and you don't really have a lot of time to think and react. So, my message to people out there is you need to be preparing yourself right now for events like this.
mm,
What kind of person are you today that ultimately is going to be able to deal with the worst day of your life?
mm,
And that was where I was at. So the doctor said that they needed to put me in a coma and on a ventilator, and that basically they were going to put me to sleep so
mm.
that I did not suffer the heart attack or the stroke and death.
I see.
And
When they
you
told you
know,
this, did they know, were they telling you that, okay, this is going to be the end. We're going to put you to sleep and then that's it. You're going to drift off.
yeah.
Hmm,
And I asked him, I said, well, is there a chance? And the doctor says, well, there's always a chance, but not a very good one. And he explained to me what was happening and that, you know, it was unfortunate. He was sorry.
hmm,
He was very broken up about it. And I said, well, most people on a ventilator don't come out of it.
hmm,
And he said, yeah. He goes, but there is a chance. And I said, what's the percentage? He said, less than 20%, if that. And so that sounded good to me.
hmm,
Um,
hmm,
but I said I'll fight. I'd rather fight um, than go on a ventilator. And he says, well, if you have a heart attack or a stroke, we're not going to be able to save you, because when you decline medical advice in the hospital, it's an automatic DNR, do
hmm,
not resuscitate.
hmm,
So basically, he was telling me that if I began to have a heart attack, that they were going to stand down and watch me die.
hmm,
So I accepted that. He let out a big sigh, and he said he was disappointed that I chose not to go in the vent. And he says, well, I'm going to move you to a room with a window so that you can say goodbye to your family,
hmm,
which they did. And I saw my wife and sister that evening for the first time in 10 days.
hmm,
This was during COVID, so nobody was allowed in. I was a prisoner in the hospital.
hmm,
And I survived the night. I did not die, but by morning I could not take a breath,
hmm,
and so it's a very strange feeling not being able to breathe. And I don't mean like breathe like you're trying to take a breath, but not able to gather any oxygen.
hmm.
So it was like you were like,
Yeah.
and I was fading. I could barely stay conscious. So by morning, I texted my wife. I said, I'm alive. Get here quick. I don't know how much longer. And I knew that I had to take the coma. And they rushed everything together. My wife got there. I was able to make one phone call. It was Thanksgiving Day. My son and my extended family was all on Thanksgiving dinner or getting ready for the day in the East Coast. I got to talk to my son and my mother. I told my wife that I got this.
Hmm, hmm,
Um, I was scared.
hmm,
I felt like I was being put on a rocket ship, and it was either going to blow up or I was going to have a grand adventure.
hmm, hmm,
And I can remember all the nurses crying.
hmm,
One nurse was rubbing my back. I was staring at my wife, and I faded away.
hmm, hmm. At, at
So
at that moment when you faded away, were you completely lost consciousness? Did you? come back?
Well,
Or-
in that moment, another thing that people need to realize is that you don't think about things, and you don't think about, at least for me, I had no regrets. I'd had a great life. I've lived life to the max in its entirety. Um, I was bummed that this was happening,
Mhm,
but I did not believe I was going to die, and that's
mhm,
another point. You need to become the person you need to be
mhm,
now.
mhm,
I don't know why I felt that way. I was ready to fight. I accepted that if God uh, was deciding to take me, there's nothing I can do about that, but I really want to stay. So, it was tough. I mean, it's terrible, but I faded away, and that was it. About 9 days into the coma, I think it was either 6 or 9. I'm not sure. They said that I was dead, that the machines were just keeping my body alive, and that they wanted to turn them off. They told my wife that I was suffering and that I wasn't coming back, and
mhm,
she refused because I told her that I had it. I was going to be okay.
mhm,
She believed. She believed. She began getting on social media and telling people my situation,
mhm.
getting people to pray for me, and that helps tremendously. I need to tell people that your thoughts mean something,
Mhm.
so you need to control your mind. And we are all co-creating this world. And if you are able to keep your mind strong and believe in a certain outcome and push for it with everything that you have, that's what you need to do.
Yes.
If you start believing that it's over, it's over. And lucky for me that I'd touched enough people in this world that we had people praying for me all over the world.
Yeah. We definitely put in some prayers for you.
And I'd like to say that I am so grateful to everyone who prayed for us. We needed every single prayer, thought, vibe, and
Mm,
um, and then that goes into the near death. Um, I I don't know exactly when it happened in the coma, whether it was instant or if I was gone the whole time. All I can say is it felt seamless to me.
mm,
It was like waking from a dream. And my first feeling was of being so uh, happy to be out of this body.
mm, mhm,
Um, I wasn't floating over my body. I wasn't like in the room. I was like blasted out. Like I shot out like a cannon.
mm,
And in that moment, I was just like, oh my God, thank God I'm out of that body. Um, and it's so hard to put into words, but it felt like in that moment, like I'm talking instantly, I was remembering, and I was remembering being like everything and everyone.
mm,
Like I literally felt like an information download was hitting me so fast at such a rate that almost instantly became overwhelming.
mm, mhm,
Um, I think about it now, and there was visuals to it, but I'm not sure if I saw anything. But the visual that I attached to it is it felt like everything was light, number one.
mhm, mhm,
Everything was flowing. So it was like I got sucked up in this like flow of light,
mm,
river of light. And within that, there was like all these like little balls or units of light, and they were hitting me or like going into me. And those were the memories, or like those, it felt like almost like it was you're remembering being everything and everyone, but you're like feeling the prayers of people. It was just like so overwhelming. Like the thought was just like, how did I ever forget this?
Mm.
It was peaceful. It was loving, seamless, um, and it just kept going. And then when I say in that instant, it became very overwhelming. I mean, it was almost instantly. Like it was like you're going on a ride whether you want to or not.
Hmm.
And it was like an expansion. So I felt like I was expanding like exponentially, like getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the
Mm.
the flow or whatever it was like getting faster.
Mm.
And at some point in all this, it seemed that like at that point I was just like an observer or something. And then this bigger light came to me, and I always describe it the same way. It was really like a feeling. And what it felt like is when my father used to pick me up as a child.
Mm.
I was like half asleep,
Mm. Hmm.
and I knew everything was okay in the world and I was safe. And that's what it felt like. It felt like my father picking me up. And I can just remember in that moment, like just saying, oh, thank God he's got me. And that's when I really surrendered to whatever it was that was happening.
Mm.
And it was just so peaceful, so comforting, almost like I had billions and billions of people or entities like carrying me off or something.
Mm.
It was so incredible. And like, with that came like memories and knowledge. And it was like almost like I knew everything ever. Like I mean, man, I mean, there's just no words to put it
Mm.
into properly. I mean, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to figure this out, but
Hmm.
I just accept the fact that there's so much more and that it's in us innately. It's just we forgot
Mm.
and we're spending our lives trying to remember.
Mm.
It's just like it's like right there next to us or with us, and for whatever reason we have a hard time accessing it.
Mm.
And this just continued. I mean, this whole flow of light continued, and the whole thing felt like I was there forever. Like there's no
Mm.
time. And at some point, it seemed like even a bigger entity of light came, and that light was very powerful and moving really fast. It seemed like it grabbed a hold of me or hit me like violently,
Mm.
and it immediately started speeding everything up.
Mm.
And I can just remember like I was hanging on for like dear life, like in a way of like I was forgetting like me, like
Mm.
whatever was me or whatever I think is me was disappearing. And I I felt like I was about to disappear,
Mm.
like I was getting absorbed or something.
Hmm.
And it wasn't so much now that I think about that I was disappearing. It was that I was remembering so much at such a rate, such an intensity, that whatever I thought was me, this experience I
Hmm.
had on this earth, was just so insignificant to what we really are,
Mm.
the immensity of what we are. And that, not that my portion of it wasn't important, but it's just one fragment of a endless, infinite um,
Mm.
portion
Mm.
of you. And right when I thought I was about to disappear, it busted out of the river of light,
Mm.
and everything was still, like I was in this like black void of nothingness. And that's when it spoke to me, and it was like me talking to me. If you could imagine like another version of me shaking me awake.
Mm.
And
Mm.
it was very deliberate. It was very simple. You have to go back. Um, there's no time to start over. We're sorry we had to do it this way. We needed you to understand. And, as this is happening, I'm like, go back where? What are you talking about? Like, I'd
Mhm.
forgotten about this place completely.
Mm.
Um, it just didn't make sense. I was just like, what is this? Like, what are you talking about? And then it said, Maria and Dylan are waiting for you, my wife and son.
Mm.
And I remembered,
Mm.
and I felt awful. There again, everything was like a feeling more
Mhm.
so than a visual.
Mhm.
And the feeling was all of a sudden this, like the biggest pit in your stomach,
Mm.
like, oh no, I forgot about them.
Mm.
Like, and I was just so devastated by this. And I was like, yes, yes, I'll go back. I'll go back. You know, and I was like, but I don't know where that place is. Like, where is it? Like, it was like almost like it was a grain of sand, on a planet, halfway across the universe. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know where that place is.
Mhm.
And they said, don't worry about that. We need you to be strong. It's going to be awful. You
Mm.
have to go back to that body. You will survive. We need you to get strong again and help the others. That was it.
Mm. And help the others, was that your family or is that humanity in general?
I don't know, man. I struggle with it because, it's like, I'm like, I don't know. I do know, I mean, I feel different and I do know things. And I think it's just being patient and being knowledgeable, doing things like this. Um,
Mhm.
so it's a combination of a bunch of things.
Mhm.
And I'm doing my best to do that. At first, I had to get better.
Mhm.
So the crazy thing is after that all happened, they set me adrift in the void. And the void was like so peaceful. I mean, it was almost like I was a rock or something in nowhere.
Mhm.
Still, I was totally still. And
Mhm.
it felt like I was a sound, like I was a buzz, like infinite potential or something. It was just like,
Mm.
and I was just there and I was like so happy being there.
Mm.
And it was almost like I was floating on my back in an infinite sea of nothing and just perfectly content. And then the next thing I remember is being squeezed. It felt like I was being squeezed and sucked like I was going down a tube or something. And I immediately fought it. I was awake. It was almost like I was in this deep sleep and it just went, and I was
Mhm.
like, you know, it was awful.
Mm.
And fought it like hell, like just immediately did not want to go. I did not want to whatever was happening, and then I woke up,
Mm. Wow.
and I don't know if the first memory I had is when I actually woke up, but the first memory I can remember being in the room. It was dark. Uh, the very first thought was they sent me to the wrong place,
Mm.
and it was alarming because I was like, oh no, they sent me in the wrong place. What is this? And the walls had plastic on it, but nothing was registering. It just looked foreign to me. It didn't look natural. It was like
Mhm.
alien autopsy or something.
Mhm.
The room was dark and it had like there's lights on my machines and they were making noises. And it was almost like I didn't even know I was me. It felt like I was like an eyeball on the floor or something.
Mm. Mm.
And nothing made sense. And my next memory was somebody coming in, and during COVID, everybody was like in these hazmat looking suits, with gowns and everything's covered. They had face masks, face shields, gloves, you know, covered up completely. And I can just remember this thing coming at me, and I was like, what is that? Like, it was like almost like I forgot what things look like. And I remember not necessarily being scared of it, but just being like, what the world is that? Like, and it's coming at me, and it grabbed my arm, and, I had IVs all in my arm. And up to that point, I didn't really know, what I was. And the nurse put a needle in the thing, and I was just like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, they're doing experiments on me. Like, what is this? Like, and so I was kind of in that world for a while. I was like heavily drugged, and I was thinking, I literally thought I would been sent somewhere where they were doing experiments on me, and I still didn't register that I was me.
Mm.
Um, it didn't. It took like a while before. You got to understand, they most of the time it was dark in the room, even when there were nurses in it. And then when they turned the light on, it was a complete whiteout. I couldn't see anything, and I can remember being tossed and turned. Because the other thing people need to realize, I woke up totally paralyzed, locked in my body. I'd lost over 100 pounds. Um, I was down to like 100 pounds to 95 pounds. We're not really sure. I went from 210 to that in 28 days. Um, I had been, poisoned with fentanyl, propofol, Versed, pentobarbital, ketamine, and so I was still in this drug stupor. And so during those whiteouts, it felt like I was being gutted like an animal. Like it felt like I was being sliced open, and things were coming out of me. And I imagine I was going to the bathroom, and they were cleaning me or something. Um, I do know that I had an operation during that time where they put a trach, where they cut a hole in my neck, and they initially the vent goes down your throat. I almost chewed my tongue off
Mm.
during the coma, and then they removed that, and then put a thing in my throat. So maybe that was part of that, feeling like I was being gutted,
Mm.
was remembering the surgery. I don't know. But one day they let my wife in, and she took her mask off and her face mask off, and I saw her, and it was the first time I realized that I was back.
Mm.
And I felt like I'd been gone for like 1,000 years, man.
Mm.
I mean, it's crazy. The whole thing's just freaking crazy.
Mm.
And that's when the real battle began. From that point, I was still on the verge of death. I was still on a ventilator, just on through my throat. For those people that don't know, the vent is the machine that's the life support that keeps you alive. It breathes for you, but it just blows you up, so it doesn't feel like you're breathing. It actually feels like you're drowning,
Mm.
and so your heart panics.
Mm.
So my heart would be beating at 170, 180 beats a minute, panicking. Like it feels like I was running a marathon, even though I was paralyzed. And then that's why they have to drug you so heavily, because you're on the verge of having a heart attack or a stroke all times. It's the most insane thing ever. I mean, I was being tortured to death,
Sounds
and
horrible.
and I couldn't even move.
Mm.
So that ordeal lasted about 3.5 months.
Mm. Wow.
The whole time they're telling my wife I was going to die,
Mm.
but it was the near death. The near death is what gave me the power to hold on.
Mm.
I I can remember I could hear everything, and I could see. If my eyes were open, I could see. Sometimes my eyes would get stuck open, and I couldn't shut them. Um, but I could hear everything, and I could hear them talking how amazed they were that I was still alive, but that there was no way that I was going to survive much longer. And I can just remember thinking to myself, like, God, you don't understand.
Mhm.
Like, I'm the light.
Mhm.
I can keep this body alive forever, and you can't kick me out of it.
Mhm.
That is the power that we all possess.
Mhm.
I mean, even in my destroyed state, having all these brutal things done to me, that is what I was. And so, if you can tap into that, um, it's like almost anything is survivable. Anything, you're just immensely more powerful than you ever dreamed,
Mhm.
mentally and physically. The body wants to be whole. The body wants to heal. It wants to do whatever you tell it to do.
Mhm.
And so I was in there trying to fix it. My wife was fighting for alternative therapies, which ultimately I think it was the thing that saved my life. My wife Maria, under the Right to Try Act that Trump put in, allowed her to fight legally for simple things like high doses of vitamin C and different vitamins when I was in a coma.
Mhm.
That probably extended my life.
Wow.
Um, the other thing was that I was a surfer that was very strong.
Mhm.
I love surfing big waves. I was surfing big waves up to that point.
Mhm.
I'd ridden the biggest wave of my life a year earlier at Mavericks.
Oh wow.
And so I was in top shape, 210 pounds physically. You're ripped. I could hold my breath for a very long time. I've faced many big waves and situations. I've had my arms ripped out of my sockets. I've broken my back. I've been drowned. I ripped the top of my head off in Tahiti.
Mhm.
So, I've dealt with bad things. And I think all of those things prepared me for this ultimate, um, you know, beating. That was the biggest beating of my life.
Yeah,
But
that's
if I didn't
amazing.
have that muscle mass to lose in the coma, I would have been a goner.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, so I lasted 4.5 months in that hospital. I finally got out. I had to learn to walk, talk, eat, swallow, everything all over again. The whole time they were telling me I was still probably going to die. And with the help of numerous people, um, angels really, uh, it seemed like an angel would show up at every time, like I'd be almost dead, and an angel would show up and save me, usually in the way of a nurse or a respiratory therapist or a physical therapist. Um, I could talk about all the crazy things that happened in the hospital where I almost died and was saved by a person. It's a whole nother podcast, but the moral of the story is that angels are coming to you every day of your life. You're just unaware that it's happening,
Mhm.
so you need to be present and recognize that the universe or God is sending you everything that you need at all times. Most of us have just forgotten, and we are not present or aware to notice that these little synchronicities are happening all the time.
Mhm.
And sometimes you need to be aware that it's your turn to be the angel.
Mhm.
You're being asked to show up for someone else. And you do not want to ignore those.
Mhm. Wow.
Everything's happening for a reason.
Right. Do you think that has your perspective shifted since this experience, would you say?
What do you think? A little. I mean, I feel like a freaking alien. I'm like, I don't even feel like me anymore.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm in a machine, like in a body that um, literally, like it's actually like I keep going back and forth. Like at first, being put back in the body was like being sent to prison.
Mm.
Like, oh no, not this shit again, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so uncomfortable compared to this other state. Like all of a sudden, it's just like heavy, and
Mm-hmm.
you're you experience pain and all this kind of stuff. And so I went from a prison to thinking, okay, it's more like an instrument, like a machine. And then I started thinking more, it's like a biological machine. Like I've been put in some kind of animal,
Mm-hmm.
and the animal needs to be tamed. The animal wants to do what it wants to do,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to control it. Now you need to give it the things it needs to, live,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't let it just do what it wants to do. You'll be, doing crazy stuff.
Right.
But it's something like this, this is not you. This body is not you. I can tell you that for sure because I left
Mm-hmm.
and I came back to it, and I don't feel the same. I feel like, okay, it feels like I'm whipping a mule to do stuff. Like I'm forcing it to walk. Like
Right.
when my physical therapist was teaching me to walk, she told me she was going to quit if I didn't do as she said, and that I'd never learn to walk and that I would die. And she was right. If I didn't get up and start moving, that's probably what would have happened. So I made this animal get up, even though I couldn't breathe, and even though my diaphragm was paralyzed, I couldn't feel my feet, I couldn't feel my hands. And she would help me up, and she would say, "All right, take a step and take a step," and started across my living room and then into my driveway and then up and down the street. It was embarrassing. I
Mm-hmm.
had this nurse follow me around with oxygen, and I could barely move, and my whole neighborhood had to see it. But I was whipping that animal. I'm like, okay, I'm forcing this thing to walk. And so what it's telling the animal or the body was that, oh, we better fix all these systems so that this guy's going to keep doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And so the body just, it wants to be whole. It's like if you don't use it, you lose it. I thought the opposite. I was like, I'm going to use it, and it's going to force it to build,
Mm.
and it did.
Do you feel that you came back with some any gifts or like extra sensory
Oh man,
things?
yeah, God, I got asked this question last time, and it was the first time I answered it, and I just find it interesting that this is coming up, and the answer is yes, absolutely. Um, it's uh, very uncomfortable, uh, and I don't know to trust it, and it almost feels like another person is trying to use you to tell you something or tell somebody else. Um, I don't know what to do with it. It scares the hell out of me. Um, but I find myself saying things I don't know. I find myself saying things to certain people as if it came from somebody else.
Mm.
Um, I get just feelings and things like that. Everybody gets them. I think everybody has this ability. It's just not, you're not listening to it, trusting it. And so when it's that forceful, like in me, um, it's all new. I've been so focused on repairing everything, I kind of didn't really listen to it. And I'm not really sure if I'm ready to listen to it now,
Mm.
but it's, like I said, very uncomfortable. Uh,
Like psychic abilities, like you can know what people are gonna say before they say it type thing, or it's like,
it, no, it's more like somebody is trying to use me to experience something or talk to somebody.
hmm, like a
Um,
medium type thing.
yeah, and also like premonition type of things. Like
Mm.
like seeing somebody's health or something and just like going like, oh man, this is, I've had, premonitions of like knowing bad's gonna happen to somebody, and I have deep compassion for them. But none of this stuff is set in stone. They could change it.
Right.
But it seems like you can see the path they're on. I mean, we all have that. You got friends that drink, and you tell them, that they drink too much, and I'm like, okay, this leads only to one place. You know that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like that on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but with what I know, with everything else I experience, I know that my mind is strong. So I have good thoughts for them. I pray for them,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that they will awaken, that they'll change their ways,
Mm-hmm.
and that I can be patient for them and love them, even though they're not taking care of their animal. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it is. I mean, this whole thing of life is like, whatever it is that we are on this other side, you get stuck into this body. And on the other side, you feel part of everything and everyone. And then you get separated into this body and you immediately feel separate and alone. It's a scary feeling. It's more
Mm-hmm.
scary being here than being there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so, I just look at people with compassion because they don't realize that it's impossible to be alone. Everything is within you. Everyone is within you.
Mm-hmm.
It's all there. You're born with everything you need. You just forgot. You
Right.
feel separate. You don't realize that it's all you. And everything is you trying to communicate back to you. And once you grasp this, you're just like, oh shit, like this person that walked in my shop today came in for a reason. Why? So now I'm looking at the breadcrumbs. There's breadcrumbs every day. Why is this happening? Why is Kevin and I talking right now?
Right.
So all I know is that I need to keep showing up. That
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I don't know why this is happening, but it's happening for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, you know, this is for you, maybe it's for me, maybe it's for neither one of us, it's for somebody else. And maybe it's just for all of us.
Yeah, it is interesting when I think about that, what you're saying, and makes me think about the reason that we come here, why our souls choose to come here and experience this life. Do you think that, there's a couple of questions that come to me. I wanted to ask you before I forget. When you were on the other side, did it feel like a dream, or does it feel like hyper real? Do you remember?
Yeah, it felt more real than here.
Mm-hmm.
It felt there's just something lacking here that is not there. You're not from here going there. You're from there coming here.
Mm-hmm.
So this experience that we're having is like a sliver of what is actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
We're living in like just a mere sliver of information. You got to remember that these machines that we have, they're electromagnetic detectors, and they only capable of detecting a small fragment of what's there.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of light in general and vibration, um, our eyes see almost nothing. Our ears hear almost nothing. We feel almost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
we smell almost nothing. I mean, you got to like
Right.
think about that for a second.
Right. So much
So,
more.
so people say seeing is believing. I'm like, oh, okay, well, you're seeing like what, you know, less than 10% of what's there. And I think, certain individuals are perceiving a little bit more. I mean, a great musician might be hearing a little bit more than you are.
Mm-hmm.
A great artist might be seeing more.
Mm-hmm.
A very emotional, compassionate person might be feeling a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
A chef might be tasting and smelling better.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have our little gifts, but I don't think we're using them to the best of our abilities. And I
Right.
think our biggest detector is your heart.
Mm.
Your heart it's your transmission system. So if your brain and nervous system is the receiver, your heart's the transmitter.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all know when somebody in a bad mood shows up in a room, it just ruins everybody's vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But the same is true when somebody good
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, vibrant comes in. You know, um, there's people that are natural leaders, that show up and they just have so much charisma. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it is.
Mm-hmm.
They're if you can control your heart, that vibration, you can control a lot more than you ever dreamed.
Mm.
And for me, you know, being stuck in that body, I was kind of well aware of this that I needed to control my thoughts, number one, and number two, try to control the vibration of my heart
Mm.
because it was about to explode.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I could hear them talking. They're like, "This guy's going to have a heart attack any second," and I could mentally slow it down
Mm.
because I hated being drugged. I mean, they would like give me drugs, and nothing like you're sitting there, you're almost dying, you're dying anyway, and then they fill you full of morphine, and you just feel your body turning off. You're like fading away.
Mm.
You feel it coming through your veins, like, oh no, it's turning me off.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And every time they did that, it felt like I was dying again. And so I was really trying to get good at controlling the vibration of my heart. So they went and drugged me, and it takes practice. And so that's kind of what life is. If you're a person that can control your thoughts and control that vibration, your emotional state, let's say, number one, you're going to be better. You're going to have a better experience, but so is everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's goal should be to become this safety life raft of emotional state for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, people don't even know why they feel better. They just do.
Right. Right. Did After your experience, has it before this experience, did you feel like you were a spiritual person or that you were attracted to spiritual things?
Um, I grew up Catholic, and so I knew a lot about religion, um, but I left it a long time ago
Mm-hmm.
um, when I left home. So it wasn't that I was non-spiritual. It's just I wasn't following any.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I was curious about all religions because, of course, being a surfer, you travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been all over the world surfing and painting and working, and um, in my mind, I found more similarities than differences in religion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all of them are beautiful. Some kind of have some weird things, but I really appreciated it. It did seem to make people better, but my religion or my spirituality really lied with nature.
Mm-hmm.
Surfing, I love being in the ocean, especially when it's at its like pinnacle,
Mm-hmm.
big waves. And just as a surfer, some of the beautiful places we get to go. I mean, we get to go to some of the most amazing places on the planet,
True.
and we get to meet people that live in those places.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, to me, that was spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and being traveling, I love seeing like different cultures and ancient sites. So early on, I really got into touring whatever was available in an area. Um, so that was interesting to me. And now I feel like they all got a little bit right. They're all trying to describe something similar to what I had in the near death, and they're just struggling because it's almost impossible to articulate.
Right.
There's just no words. I
Hmm.
find myself just like, even everything that I've said here today is inadequate
Right.
to the whatever was given to me.
Hmm.
It, like I said, it's a feeling. I know what it feels like, but I don't know how to tell it.
Right. And do you think also what happens to people who do have experiences like you and then they come back and they have this insight and then people tend to create a belief system around it, and since we can't grasp it, then our 3D mind kind of creates this deification, like this pedestalization of people, and it's like,
Yeah. I I mean, I'm convinced that, whoever the great spiritual leaders of the world that have ever lived, I mean, they've all either had a near death,
hmm,
got there through some type of, meditation,
hmm,
maybe a psychedelic experience,
hmm,
or great age.
hmm,
I mean, they all came to similar types of conclusions.
yeah,
And, so all I can say is it's way, way, way more complicated than we could ever put into words.
hmm,
And it's bigger. Like, it's just so much bigger. Like, whatever it was that I saw is just so bewildering. Um, it's quite possible that this human brain can't process the complexity of what's actually happening. And I can accept that. Um, it's okay not to know. It's okay not to, um, to say, like, I'm just unafraid. That's the other thing. There's just nothing to be afraid of.
hmm.
There never was.
Yeah, you're not afraid to go to the other side or afraid of
No.
death, no? Mm-mm.
Um, I'm forever changed. I am, man. I feel so weird, and I mean, I just want to help as really my wife and my kid and my friends and anybody that I come in contact with. I don't feel like there's anybody to save. I just want to give them the best experience that they can.
Hmm.
Most of the suffering that people are going through is from this feeling of being alone and separate.
Hmm.
And if I can just leave everybody with that, you're not alone.
Yeah,
You're not
that is
alone.
that is a powerful realization for sure. And how has it changed your art? Has it changed your art since coming?
Yeah, that's another question I get all the time, and I mean the answer will surprise people. Like, I don't really care. Like, I don't have anything to prove. Um, it I do paint differently. I have not. I've just lost the, like, I'm trying. I'm not trying hard. I'm not trying. I'm just kind of cruising, and if something great comes out of it, uh, I do want to paint more bigger, sophisticated paintings that I can work on for longer periods of time. So get off the treadmill, because I'm kind of a production artist. I do a lot of stuff for companies and bands, and so I'm producing, and, like, I just don't care about that anymore. I'm like, um,
Well,
I
I
don't.
have. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to. Um, it's almost like I'm trying to let go of who I am,
Hmm.
um, but it's so tied to everything that, I don't know if I'll be able to do that. And also, in order to take care of my family and stuff, that I can got to continue to work. And, um, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, art will change. But like the first thought is just like, yeah, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about anything, actually, which is pretty amazing.
That is awesome. I see you're sitting in front of some sacred geometry. Were you doing sacred geometry pieces before?
Yeah.
Or
So, it, yeah. So just this whole experience, right,
mm,
makes my whole life make sense. It's
mm,
almost like everything's in reverse, or like I always knew,
mhm,
or I mean, is not. So like the sacred geometry came out of real organic interest in number one surfing there, and surfing and being exposed to nature. You know, you're always seeing like the shapes of everything. So
mhm,
the way a wave curls, the way the clouds curl, the way plants and things are made. And so as an artist, you're always noticing the patterns.
mm, mhm,
And so artists innately do this. I was innately doing this. And I never went to art school, so nobody taught me anything. I just, did what I did. So then as a surfer, we all become amateur meteorologists and climatologists. And for selfish reasons, we want to know why the waves aren't as good as they used to be. And
mhm,
so you're following storms around the world. And, we become very knowledgeable in science and understanding how weather patterns work and what makes waves. And, you know, a storm is shaped in that same comma shape, toroidal field shape. And so I started studying, after studying weather for so long, I started studying solar and planetary physics
mm,
to understand what causes that to influence our weather. And that led me to theoretical physics. And um, just as a hobby, I'm just interested in why are things the way they are. And so, in order to understand the things I was learning, I had to draw them. So, the first time in my life, I was introduced to mathematical formulas and divine symmetry and things like the flower of life and platonic solids, all those types of things,
mhm,
and the golden number, the
mhm,
Fibonacci spiral,
mhm,
And I'm like, wow, I'm using these things every day, and I didn't even know it
mhm,
in my art. And the more you dive into these topics, it just screams intelligent design.
mhm,
It just says to you like, okay, nothing is an accident.
right.
There's a very uh, specific thing that's happening here, and there's no way it's an accident. I mean, it's creating everything, and we're a part of it. So
Mhm,
we're essentially creation machines,
mhm,
and so it's almost like I was given all these little breadcrumbs my entire life, and then it zapped me to the other side, verified all that, and then sent me back and gave me the ability to come back to life.
mhm,
And then I'm looking back at everything just like almost like it all happened at once.
mhm,
And
mhm,
um, so if life couldn't get any weirder, I have this shit going on, where I'm just like, oh my God, there's a painting that I did, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago or something. It's called The Journey. And it was this creepy painting that I'd done. It was like 8 feet long, and it had a picture of a big wave breaking. In
mhm,
that wave, there was uh, a candle burning very low, like a candle about to go out.
mhm,
And then on the other side, it had a cross. And in that cross was a road leading into the sun with this big hole in it. And there was this figure there that looked like he was malnourished walking on the road
mhm,
naked. And then there was this thing coming out of the tube like a umbilical cord, and the umbilical cord was in the shape of a heart, or the umbilical cord then opened to the shape of a heart, and there was my son and my wife in the heart
mhm,
reaching out to me on the road.
mhm,
Now at the time, this painting was like super creepy. I didn't know why I painted it. Nobody liked it, and super weird painting. And then all these years later, this thing happens to me,
Yeah.
and that's what I looked like. I was bones.
Mm. Hmm.
And oh yeah, and there was these skeleton things coming out of the white waters. They were all trying to get me.
Mm.
And and I was just casually walking down this road like this was my path. It always has been my path. It was always going to happen. Almost like it already happened.
Hmm.
And I'm just living it out.
Hmm.
And so everybody's having an experience like that.
Right.
And everybody's having an experience for the whole. So that means everybody's having an experience for you.
Mm. Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
all you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, mic drop right there with that one. Pretty
So,
much. Wow. Yeah. It's really interesting and profound. Thank you so much for recounting your story, and
yeah.
I really like that piece about the weather patterns connecting to sacred geometry and intelligent design with we're always looking for ways to connect, for me connect spirituality with surfing, because I feel like it's for some surfers it's a stretch, I mean, most of the surfers
Yeah.
are not, the most spiritually minded, but they're doing a practice that is definitely ancient and is connected to, like, the ancient Hawaiians definitely had prayers for before they made their boards, and there was always in all the different cultures where they were riding waves, they definitely had a spiritual connection.
Yeah.
So that the weather patterns and the sacred geometry, that's pretty profound, I would say.
Well, so one of the conferences I used to go to for physics, this biophysicist was giving a talk, and they were talking about space travel, like going to Mars and stuff. And he just said something very profound that I always remembered. And they were worried about astronauts going to Mars and leaving Earth. And he was explaining, he was like, look, you don't understand. You're not separate from Earth,
Mm. Hmm.
you are part of it. So, our bodies are designed for this environment. And everything that's happening on this planet is regulating things in our bodies. And so, you know, we're just not separate from it. We're part of this whole thing. Like, you just have to, everything is much bigger than you can ever think. You're not separate. You're part of something much bigger, and you're part of all of it. And the
Wow.
only access is within.
Mm.
Not going to
Hmm.
find it out there. It's within. And so it's all experience. And, you're having an experience for the whole. And you just have to realize that, the weather is part of you. You have to be in sync or in rhythm with everything. As soon as you get out of rhythm with it, it just doesn't work, you know. So, and death is not the end because this is not you. So I'll leave you with one thing that really kind of shows this, and it's about surfing. Number one, how amazing is it that the human body can catch a wave and jump to its feet and navigate down the face as it's moving, something that can kill you, and you can navigate it and come shooting out of a giant barrel at pipeline. That is being in sync with all that is. That's why it feels so great. Now imagine a wave. Well, what is a wave? Well, a wave is energy. Where does that energy come from? Well, the energy, it never stops. It's always being transmuted into one thing or another. So that energy came from the sun. It ultimately came from the galaxy. But the sun radiates the solar wind, and that wind is projected towards Earth. At Earth, at Earth, we have our atmosphere. The solar wind hits the atmosphere. That atmosphere is disturbed by the solar wind and pressure gradients. Those pressure gradients force the air down and creates bubbles on the other ends, forcing that motion of the wind. That's what creates a giant storm. So one of those giant storms, that wind is blowing. What does it do? it puts that energy into the water in the ocean. That wind blows and blows and blows until a lot of that wind is absorbed by the ocean. That's where our waves come from.
Mm.
Now, when the waves are moving across the ocean, the water is not moving from like the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. The energy's moving.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really
Mm-hmm.
important thing to know.
Mm-hmm.
So the water is just moving up and down. The energy's flowing through the water. It's the medium that the energy is in, and it's desperately trying to find a way out of the water. Then here we are sitting at the coastline as surfers, waiting for that energy to arrive at our beach. And in that moment, we turn around and paddle to catch it, get barreled, and feel that spit of the release of energy. That energy has been stuck in that water for so long. And in that moment where it's released, it's like this huge energy release. We feel it, and it
Mm-hmm.
feels amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But the energy didn't die, it was released back into the wind. It's the same thing that's happening to our bodies. We're temporarily trapped in this body, having an experience. And when you die, you don't die. You're just released from it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Wow. Wow. I wonder if all the molecules and atoms are like surfers riding our energy wave.
It's all one big wave, man. And it's all a gift. It's all a gift.
Yeah.
Enjoy every moment.
Well, thank you, Drew.
Yeah,
This has
man.
been amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you for, there's just some synchronicities are that I'm lining up. The first time that we met when we collided with each other, and that's the only time that's happened to me. And then to have like, have you be the first guest on
Yeah.
Ocean Within,
There's no
and
accidents.
no, and then that the lung piece too. Like I had a collapsed lung,
Yeah.
and I was fine, and I feel like, okay, I was okay, but this person had to go not okay in order to come back with the story. So I almost feel like your soul took one for the team. You're like, okay, I came here, I'm gonna do this to help everybody realize who we are, which is a human having an eternal spirit experience, or a
Yeah.
spirit having an eternal human experience.
Yeah. That's been said to me a few times that a friend of mine who's very spiritual. It was the first thing he said to me. He said, "Thank you for having that experience for us,"
Yeah, thank you.
and it really blew me away because I was probably one of the few people that could have endured it,
Mm.
and so maybe that's why it was given to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. That's what's coming through for me. It's like, so thank you for
Yeah,
that
man.
as well.
Yeah. Life is good, everybody. Enjoy.
Yes, sir. Cool. Well, thanks, Drew. And if you would be so kind, who knows down the line, is there anything you want to, let people know about? If anyone, wants to get your art or you care to,
Yeah, just and I got a website, Drew Brophy Art, that my wife and I run. I'm gonna be speaking here in the near future, so uh, look for that. One of my big speaking gigs, I'm getting ready to speak in Austin, Texas, in October with Quest for Ancient Civilizations, where I'll be talking about a lot of these topics. And so look for that coming up. And I'll probably be doing more speaking stuff and just sit downs. And there's just a lot more to talk about. Um, it's kind of uncontainable. We're
cool.
doing a lot of talks on COVID in general and what actually happened. We have all our records, so that's happening, and hopefully we can prevent anything like that ever happening again. Yeah, so we'll be talking about that more.
Okay, sounds good. I won't keep you. I appreciate you so
Yeah,
much.
man.
And yeah, we'll be talking again soon.
Great job, Kevin.
Thanks, Drew.